If you've been following Adriatique over the past year, you have witnessed one of the most successful pivots in modern dance music. They have grew their event concept X to the biggest it has ever been, and they reached millions of new listeners around the globe. And this success didn't come from standing still. Adriatique is an example of artists that have always been gifted with being able to move along with the trends without really losing their core identity in their sound. They were first known as one of the biggest artists in the melodic techno scene, known for really long cinematic breaks and hypnotic grooves. However, in 2024 and 25, the overall landscape in music has started to change. As you probably all have seen, Afro House has begun to take over festivals and streaming platforms around the world. Adriatique was very smart to not ignore this trend. However, they also did not completely throw away their old sound. And the result of this is a hybrid sound between melodic and Afro that's both on trend and still unmistakably Adriatique. When we look at the timeline of the past year, you can clearly see their evolution into this sound. So let's take a quick look. In August 24, they released Like a Dream with Revo, which was the first track that hinted to some Afro elements already. Revo, as you probably all know, is really well known for using Afro House elements in his track as well. Then March 2025 really marked a turning point as they released a collab with Sam and Aina, two Belgian producers that are really well known for making super nice Afro House sounds, and they collabed on the track called Back to Life. Then in May 2025 they released Love's a Game, which is quite similar but now also added a really poppy, almost weekendish vocal, which really showed the direction they were taking. And then in August 2025, their remix of No Bad Vibes made it clear that Adriatique was now really focusing on their new Afro House sound. The key lesson we can take is that they show that you can evolve your sound without losing your identity and without losing your fans. Because of this backstory, I thought it was really interesting to make a tutorial on this new sound, where I will try to also make the link between their older elements and what they are now doing differently to achieve this new sound. So enough talking about their journey so far, let's dive into the video. First of all, I'm starting off with the wet vocal of our new pack, Tantra, which is an Afro House and Melodic House sample pack. And this will be the foundation of the track that we're going to build today. So let me quickly play this vocal for you. And I'm really happy with how this vocal turned out. And it was really heavily inspired by Adriatique's Love's a Game. So you can immediately probably hear that.
Carefully put your arms around me. I need you now, I'm falling so far away.
First of all, I want to create a piano underneath, and we're going to create some chords. So also worth to mention is that we're using a BPM of 123 and the vocal is in G sharp minor. Piano is a piano from the pack, which is basically a sample based serum preset. Really kind of a soft sound. So now we're going to try to come up with some lush chords that entail this Afro House vibe. However, I feel like this is a part where they don't differ too much. If you listen to their records like Home and that kind of examples, they were already very well known for creating these like emotional chord progressions in their tracks. So I want to use relatively longer chords, basically 2 bars, and then like after 2 bars switch to a new note. I'm just starting off with the bass notes, and from there I will lay down the more melodic elements.
Carefully put your arms around me. I need you now, I'm falling so far away.
That will work. So essentially, I feel like these kind of chord progressions, once you have the bass line, get really easy. Since, for example, we want to keep it a bit cinematic. So in that case, most of the time, I'm just using like the first note in the minor chord on top of the bass line, and then I just copy it.
Careful.
And as you can see, if you add this, it kind of sounds more cinematic, if you get what I mean. So you can copy it 1 octave up.
Carefully.
Here you can see it's a major chord, so we're doing essentially the same.
Carefully put your arms around me.
Then here it will be a minor chord, as it's as the F sharp note in it. And then we're going to do the same again. And we can definitely change it later, but this is just a really good starting point. Then we can copy this, but I like to switch it up to add some variation, even though these bass notes are the same. We could use the same, but let's try some variation. First of all, I do want to change the rhythm a bit to kind of let it hit just before the new kick, which contributes to the groove, which I really like.
Carefully put your arms around me. I need you now, I'm falling so far away. Carefully, I need you.
Then we end up with basically the same chord, but the F sharp is changed for D.
Far away.
That sounds nice though, so we're going to use that. And then I added a low cut and a little bit of OTT to make it a bit more crispy and stand out in the mix. And that sounds like this then.
Carefully put your arms around.
Let's now add one more thing, which are like some kind of top notes.
Carefully put your arms. Carefully put your arms.
You could make harmonies, but let's now just keep it a bit simple.
Your arms around me. I need you now, I'm falling. Oh, care for me. Show me how well you know me. Love me down slowly. Don't erase.
I think that sounds nice. Maybe I want to leave this one out, but we'll see later on.
Carefully put your arms around me.
Let's now move on to the bass line, which is going to be really straightforward, a copy of the piano. And for this we're using the preset bass Adama from the Tantra pack, which is using both wavetables from the Moog Matriarch that are new in Serum 2. Really fat analog sound. Oscillator B fine-tuned slightly to get that more analog touch to the sound. The envelope is pretty long as it's just basically a sustained bass. Same for envelope 2, which is controlling a ladder filter right here. Not too much cutoff to really keep it a very low and subby bass. Again, a filter, then a compressor and some tube distortion. As well as this new splitter function in Serum 2, where you can split between the lows and highs, or even the lows and mids and highs. And then on the highs, there is a little chorus, which is just making it a bit more wide. Let's layer that underneath. Then for the EQ, roll some of the high and mid frequencies, as we really want this to be sub-focused, and some sidechain that will leave room for the kick. However, there's this band which controls that it's only doing this hard sidechain underneath 160 Hz. So everything that's passing through here will not be routed through the sidechain. Let's pitch it up 1 octave.
Carefully put your arms around me.
Next up, we're going to layer it with a real Afro House inspired preset, which is called Bass Lock, which is basically a lock drum bass. So there are two sine waves that are really to give that low subby body, and then there's this tom that really adds the more organic kind of touch to the preset, with a low pass filter on it in the new warp function here. This modulation right here does a lot too. Just adds that kind of FM-y sound. Then in FX there's some interesting stuff happening too. So there is a compressor first, then a hyper dimension, which is adding some dimension, which just makes the log more wide. like really typical for these kind of sounds. A short 1/16th delay, a really short reverb, and then some EQs that slightly boost some resonances that we kind of wanted to stand out here. Then lastly, a soft clip distortion. Really nice sound, and also used in a lot of tracks. So let's copy the bass notes once again and copy them in here.
Careful,
Let's now just try to come up with something.
carefully put your arms around you now. I'm falling so far away, so far away. Oh,
Then once again some EQing, a little bit of a high cut, just slightly, so not completely. And then just get rid of the sub frequencies quite hard, so it doesn't interfere with the bass we already added. And some wave shaper to fatten it up. And from there, our bass line is pretty much ready. Later on I will add some kind of bassy toms as well to finish that up. But I'm now going to focus on the synths more first. So now we're going to add a tonal tom, which is really one of the signature things in their last Afro House tracks. Something like that. And we're just going to try to come up with some kind of pattern that keeps repeating.
careful, carefully.
We're now moving on to adding a tonal tom, which is really one of their signature sounds lately. And that's going to sound something like... But then we're going to put it in key and stuff like that. So let's just start playing around with that right away.
Carefully put your arms around me. I need you now. I'm falling so far away.
More than what I had before.
Carefully put your arms around me. I need you.
And this is basically a sample, so I can't explain too much about it, but it's kind of a lasery tom. It's almost like a disco tom, but then used in a totally different way. Adding some effects will make it a bit more muffled and in the background. So first of all, there's a slight distortion, then a low cut to get rid of everything like in the sub area. Then this EQ, which is rolling off the lows and the highs, which creates that more kind of muffled sound. And then a really short, roomy reverb. So then it is a bit less prominent in the mix, but still very audible.
So far away.
Next we have these two sequences that together sound like this, playing the root note of the track. And they just work really well for groove, but also to just fill up the overall frequency spectrum. So first of all, that's this sequence called Moments from the pack, which is using the new ARP function of Serum 2. And then the LFO 1 is adding a bit more movement by modulating the wavetable position of this sawdrift wavetable. Some multiband compression, as well as delay, reverb and chorus, which is a really subtle but nice sound. And it also really has that typical rhythm. And then next is this sequence, which is essentially doing the same with other wavetables. It's basically really similar. Slightly different rhythm as well, so they kind of complement each other there. And really easy, we know the track is in G sharp, so we just play it on the G sharp, and that just adds so much more depth to the track.
Carefully put your arms around me. I need you now. I'm falling.
Last but not least, this high tonal synth, which will function first as riser and then slowly fade out in the drop, giving it a lot of energy. And that sounds like this. So really straightforward envelopes, a Model D wavetable with 4 voices of unison, and then this triangle wave on a 1 to 2 rate is modulating the fine tune for that kind of wonky analog touch. Then LFO 2, which is on a 1:4 rate, is modulating the pen. So it's going from the left to the right, and it's also slightly modulating the cutoff to add some more movement. Then there's this white noise, a bit of soft saturation, chorus, and then the usual reverb, as well as some filters that are for the macros, so they're not really doing anything.
Carefully put your arm.
So this will basically go into the build-up, be like filtered in, and then slightly move away again. And that's it for the synth part. So let's now move on to the drums. So Adriatique has always been known for using really intricate drums. However, they used to keep it a bit more minimal, and now it's really percussive driven, but it really takes a track like this to the next level. So adding all these drum layers will make the track sound like this. Alright, so moving on to the drums. First we have this kick. Still really punchy and deep, so a bit harder than the usual softer Afro House. Then there's this tom with a slight delay in a really syncopated groove. Also really complementing the tonal tom. Then some head loops, which really add that sharp high end. Same goes for the shaker loops. Then there's this texture loop. The clave, which is an instrument playing a double rhythm on the offbeat. Really typical, and you hear it a lot too. Some metallic percussion loop, really organic. Then a clap layer existing out of clap and percussion, something that they have been doing for a real long time already too. And then there is this more kind of FX, but still adds a lot to it, texture loops and ambience loops, and these really make it sound like completely more organic. Like these kind of loops, it's basically just noise in a weird way, but and there are plenty of these loops in the new pack as well. I will now arrange it and then show you what a full arrangement of a track like this would look like. So first of all, we have this part, which I already showed you before, with some background vocals. Really adding those nice harmonies. Then there are these ad-libs. Really high, adding some kind of variation in that too. And then this is the part that will repeat throughout the drop. And that just adds that final touch to the overall production. Then with the ambience. Then, word to mention, I added these whoops from the pack that are really common in these productions nowadays. Often placed on offbeats. As you can see, then here are the synths we created. In most of the parts they're all playing, but I will show you some of the automation, because that's also where the magic kind of happens for this, as you really want to play with opening up the cutoff, like teasing some tension and energy, and slowly building it back again. Some fills and uplifters, but nothing too special there. As you can see here, some organic fills. Alright, so here in the automation section, you can really see that there's a lot of automation going on for cutoff, as well as filtering right here, removing the lows for a while, like lowering the cutoff of the sequences and the piano. And that way you can keep elements playing for a long time. And as you can see, this is a pretty long kind of sweep towards this point where the energy is the highest. And that's just a key section to this sound as well. So if we go here into the build-up, it starts really like slow. So that's a combination of adding reverb sweeps, noise sweeps, and really giving the cutoff automations time to fully open up, and then also give it time to slowly go back. So don't really rush these kind of automations in this style. Okay, so I'll now play the full project, and this project is also included in the pack. So if you want to check it out yourself, make sure to head over to the link in the description. Alright, so I hope you guys like this video. To get even more in depth would simply take probably way too much time. As I told you, all the sounds that are used in this video are from the Tantra sample pack, which is our new Afro and melodic pack, and we're really happy with the support so far. So if you want to check that out, go to the link in the description. We are going to post a lot more videos on this kind of style as well as similar kind of artists. For now, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I see you guys in the next video.